Welcome to the Resilient series. I'm Stephanie Weaver, the author of the upcoming Migraine Relief Plan Cookbook, which is due out next summer and is available for pre-order now. That book has the theme of resilience. My guest today is Lee Coulter. Lee Coulter is a singer-songwriter, music producer, filmmaker, and children's book writer. He was born in Australia to a Vietnam War veteran father and an Indonesian mother who survived a genocide in her hometown. Lee's songs have a depth to them that reflect his family experience. Welcome, Lee.
Thanks for having me, Stephanie.
It's so great to have you here. I'm excited because everyone, he's got his guitar, so there will be music. Yay.
Absolutely.
So tell us about your parents, how they met, and their backgrounds. And anytime you feel like you want to respond with a song, we're open to it. So go for
Okay.
it.
Well, yeah. Well, that's been a journey for me in the last. Obviously, we all grow up with parents that we kind of understand in a certain way, in a certain light, and it all feels kind of that must be normal. And then as you get older and wiser, you kind of see patterns and start to question things. And so my dad was in Laos. He was a pilot for he flew for Australia, but he flew American planes in Laos during the Vietnam War, and obviously had to do things that he would otherwise wouldn't do. And after the war was PTSD and alcoholic and many things that brings. And then and my mother grew up in Indonesia to a World War II veteran who was a prisoner of war. So my grandfather was a prisoner of war to the Japanese in Thailand during World War II, and he was a prisoner of war. He met my grandmother in Thailand, and she kind of snuck him food and helped him survive the prison camp. And from there, just I can't even imagine. I'm grateful that we live in a generation that some of us choose to, and that's a brave, noble thing to do. But a lot of us can have those freedoms that we don't have to deal. That's not just the norm. That all of us generation is going off to some horrific thing. But that's what they had, and all that raising his own children, raising his family. He was drunk and violent, and so just so much tension that I've been thinking about the history of ancestral tension and abuse and pain that's just passed on to the next generation. And so that both my parents had that from their experience, and then I'm kind of trying to unlearn some of those toxic patterns, and I'm just kind of delving into some of the depths of it. Even though I've had music all this time to keep my mind in the place I want it to be, it's going to take the tough work, the difficult work to really get there. So it's ongoing.
Yeah. How do you see music being playing a role in that for you, and a role in healing?
You know what? In a way, it's kind of probably it lightened my reaction to my life, to my. It's made me resilient, but it's also made it so nice for me. I've found a career in this healing. This didn't start out consciously as healing. I loved music, so I picked up the guitar and I got validated for playing music. So I thought, if I can make a living off this, I'll do it. But what I'm realizing now, it was always healing. Music has always been healing to me. And it's been, I heard Bono from U2 in a podcast the other day saying that all an artist is doing is trying to claim their space. This is who I am. And I really feel strongly that that's what I've been doing because of the deficits, the abandonment. Even though my parents were there when I was a child, like just the emotional absence or the inability to parent in the way that a child desires or needs. It's that void. When you think about all these artists and all these humans with this void in their soul, what is it? Usually, I think it's probably got something to do with that comfort, that feeling that someone's got your back when you need it. And so music kind of filled that void. It prolonged the therapy I probably needed to do, but at the same time, a healthy, and I to this day I would recommend that anyone have a healthy outlet, have a healthy, fulfilling version of what you can do to soothe yourself, get through to the next level. And I was thankful, I'm grateful that mine became a career, and mine became a way for me to express myself. But at the same time, it's been a bit of a stopgap, and can keep you away from doing the actual work.
Great. So you grew up in a suburb of Brisbane, and yet both your parents, as you've already said, were living with the trauma of war.
Yeah.
How did you have you written a song about that? Kind of how that's played out in your life?
Not really. I mean, I feel like every song I've written comes from that energy. There's a feeling. I don't really speak about my parents because I barely connect with them, and there's such a strained relationship there. And I don't, I know that they've tried their best and they've done their best with the tools that they had. So I'm not here to slag on their abilities. But at the same time, I grew up thinking, normal, suburbia, normal. And then gradually over, when I was in high school and I wasn't allowed to go out to parties and stuff, and just that strict kind of fear-based parenting, and I was thinking, man, I feel like really different to all that. And some of it I thought was a cultural difference. My mum being Indonesian, being Asian, and me being amongst all my Western, Australian friends. I thought maybe that's the difference, and my mum's just strict. But I realized that, suburbia, the outlier, what was tough for me is that everything looked great. The life looked great on the outside everywhere. But there was that struggle within the home, and I think so many people have this. And there's so many families saving face on the outside, and then when you go behind the doors, it's just psychological kind of isolation and oppression. So it feels like there's that juxtaposition, and it builds up. That's what builds up the artist. That's what builds up that pent up energy that I got to bust out at some point. So in a way, like so much privilege growing up in Australia in the suburbs, but you never know behind closed doors what's going on. So
Well,
bit of both.
if you haven't written a song about that, I think that's fodder for one. So
Totally, yeah. Well, all my songs come from a place of, well, not all of them, but trying to take something that's hurting or take something that's felt bad and spin it on its head, get a different perspective, zoom out, and then look at that, and what can you find in there? And that comes from that place of like, I was looking out my window going, look how amazing everything is. I can see it, but it was just, I felt distant to it. So I'm forever trying to connect myself to what I'm looking at.
Great. Did you have a song you wanted to play for us now?
Oh, absolutely. So this is my flagship song, and you'll hear everything I'm talking about in here. So no matter what's going on, there's a chance, an opportunity to zoom out and think of the planet like this and your place in it. It's a glorious day on the planet I love. Let me tell you what I'm thinking of, 'cause I've been wondering why it was, but it's just life doing what it does. We keep trying to mess it up, they keep trying to bring us down. So I'm just gonna smile at everything around, 'cause I've got earth beneath my feet and the sky above. And it's a glorious day on the planet I love. And don't tell me about someday, somehow, 'cause all we need is right here, right now. I've got some rhythm and I've got some rhyme. I've got my music and I got my mind. We were sinking in circles in the past. No, I'm just gonna be, and I'm free at last, 'cause I've got earth beneath my feet and the sky above. It's a glorious day on the planet I love, because there's children playing somewhere. How's life on Jupiter? I don't care. Oh no, 'cause we've got lovers just laying there. Well, I'm no hero, I'm not brave. I'm just tired of being afraid, 'cause I've been wondering why it was, but it's just life doing what it does. And I've got earth beneath my feet and the sky above. I'm gonna rise and bud that old push and shove, 'cause I've got earth beneath my feet and the sky above. And it's a glorious day on the planet I love. Whoa, oh, oh, it's a glorious day now. Oh. Oh, oh, what a glorious day. It's a glorious day on the planet I love. It's a glorious day on the planet I love. What a glorious day on the planet we love.
Thank you so much. What a treat that was.
So welcome.
Yeah, so I was just sitting over here like grooving out while Lee was playing. So the other question I wanted to ask you was about being biracial.
Yeah.
There's been so much conversation in the United States recently about race, and part of what I try to do as a white person is figure out how I can use my whiteness for good.
I love it. Thank you.
So tell us about what that experience was like, or whatever you want to share.
It's been very complicated for me, and I've spoken to a few people that are in a similar kind of hard to tell biracial. Like, people can't really place my ethnicity, and in a lot of ways that's a privilege for me. That kind of protects me from being grouped into any one prejudice that people have. Apart from, there's times where I do feel like I've definitely felt where just because of my skin color, the darkness that I am other to others, and that to me that's real. And I've been disheartened in the past few years where some of my friends that I thought would have had that perspective and understood that seem to not understand the depths of it, and that kind of has been a shock to me. I thought, I have a pretty average perspective of the world, and I got a grasp on things, and I know how. And I grew up with mostly white people. That was one of those things that in the past few years I've had to think about my journey as a half Asian man. How much I've kind of disowned, whether it was because my mother had other issues beyond her Asian culture that I didn't relate to. She had toxic tendencies. Did I relate my Asianness to this one person that was my strong Asian influence? And so did colonialism in Australia and my private Catholic school that I went to, did that kind of, every time I would look in the mirror growing up, I'd get shocked. I'd be walking past the mirror and be like, that's right, I'm brown, I forgot. I don't look like my friends, I forgot. And that was like a psychological thing, and that was something I was conscious of. I felt, some various forms of racism, nothing too like what you see on the news over here or anything like that. I mean, I've been pulled over by police. I've been stopped while I'm walking in the street by police. They just ask me what I'm up to. I always like to shock people. And I've been thinking about this defensive mode that because I've been educated in Australia, I've got a different accent than Americans here. I've got, I can speak in a different way. I can just I kind of get obnoxious, and I get overly polite and overly I just speak in my accent, and I go, oh, what's the problem? Can I help you? And it kind of shocks whoever's, I love to shock whoever has put some sort of idea and preconceived notion of who I am and what I am because of the way I look. I've just recently I played a show, and someone said, what's your name? This guy comes up to me, what's your name? And I said, Lee. And he goes, you sure your name's Lee? I said, yeah. And he goes, you sure it's not Carlos? And I'm just like, what's that about? What? Because I've got the ponytail and I got a guitar in my hand, so he wants to be like, you sure you're not Carlos Sanchez? And I'm just like, I don't even know what that means. I don't know what to say to that. Like, I'm just playing music over here. And then it's not like someone's beating me up but it's just a reminder. And so in the last couple of years, I've been thinking about how have I not embraced this part of me? How have I shunned it through the cultural mindset that I've had? And I think a lot of people that are either half white and half Asian or half whatever have been really questioning this perspective, because I think the whole of the country is really questioning their perspective. How much have we just been going along with the history books that we've been given? How much we heard one side of the story? And that includes us that are half white. That includes us that went to those schools and learned those things and gone, wait a second, but we've been treating certain people as second class citizens and certain people more than others as second class people. But wait a second, if I just I go into that category a little bit, that's not cool either. Like, I didn't know it was happening to me. I always thought I want to help the people. I want to help the minorities that are lesser, doing lesser than I am, and I want to be able to help. And then I'm like, wait a second, now I have a place, and then it's made me think, because it's so specific to mine, and I don't fit into this one category like Black Lives Matter. I'm totally supporting this cause, but I know I don't have the same prejudice against me as a black person in this country. So I don't really, so I can't, like, I can speak to racism, but I can only be an ally to that without speaking from that experience. But at the same time, I'm not white, so I just feel like kind of lost and confused. And that's one of the things I'm talking to my therapist about, is like, racial identity. It's like an identity crisis, and it's just disheartening to me that there's still so much uh, denial about race in this country. Like, let's just own it. Let's own the horrors, like horrible history of this country, and the things that it still has in place because of it. And the more we deny it, the more we'll just be in strife. And it just makes me, the human part of me just hurts for people that just have to feel prejudice, and just because that's the way it is and that's the way we want to keep on pushing it. But I am so grateful for all the progress that has happened, and all the allies, white friends, speaking as a lot of it as women. I mean, this is throughout history. I've been educating myself on the civil rights movements and women's movements, and watching documentaries and stuff, and just like, people of color and women, and just those that don't, those that stand the most to lose. Just keep on fighting, and that's what I'm talking about, resilience. When I'm feeling down, when I'm feeling tired, when I'm feeling like everything, I just think about the people in history, the people who have gone and passed before us, who made it possible for us to do what we do. And I thought, you just got to think, you can't let those people down. You got to keep going, no matter how tired you are. So there's hope. There's hope, but it's just been confusing.
I totally get that. And well, I appreciated very much the shout out to therapy, because not enough people talk about being in therapy. And I think
No,
it's so important to acknowledge that I'm in therapy. I'm on antidepressants. I was doing a walking therapy session last year with my therapist on the phone, and I saw a friend that I hadn't seen in years. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'd love to talk to you, but I'm talking to my therapist. And then my
yeah,
therapist said to me, thank you for validating that that's who you're talking to, because not enough people are open
totally.
about it. So,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
especially men. I think men are it's even harder to admit. So I
Yeah, and
appreciate that.
I try to, like I said before, with preconceived notions of me, I like to break them, and masculinity is also one of the ones I like to kind of shut down. Of, if you think I'm just, but it is, I do have problems with vulnerability from my masculinity, and like, to me, the key to resilience is understanding yourself, understanding where your needs are being met, where your perceived needs are actually working against you. It's just about understanding self. And for me, understanding, like, getting to know, like, I've always been like, I know that I stand for equal rights. In that way, I'm a feminist, absolutely. But at the same time, here I am. I love my rugby. I love toughness. I'm the kind of guy that is like, if I've got the flu and I'm hurting, I still got a gig. I pride myself on, like, making it through, gritting my teeth. That's that version of myself that is like that. And same thing with therapy. Like, I'm 40 years old, and I grew up with the history that about, that I've told you about, mental illness and all this. I'm 40 years old. I've never seen a therapist until 2 months ago. So at 40 years old, for the first time in my life, with everything, two parents with PTSD, borderline personality disorders in there as well. And I never had therapy until I was 40 years old. And to me, if I could say one thing, is like, get therapy before then. If you know you've got things in your past, and you think you've just, like I did, I got music, so like, man, I glorious day on the planet of love, I figured it out. I'm saving the world. I'm saving myself. No, no, there's still so much you actually have to face, and you got to feel it, and you got to work through it. And therapy has been so good. It's still unearthing. It's still a process. I'm still in the middle of it, and I'm sure. I think what I'm learning is the purpose of life, and as you get older, you keep learning these things, and a therapist just helps you get to them more quickly. And otherwise, you're not living to your full capacity, and if you're in cycles of pain, the cycles of pain will just keep on cycling if you don't face it. So yeah, absolutely, I'm all for it. Yeah, talking about therapy, normalizing therapy, showing the strength in therapy. If masculinity means strength, show your strength. I'm strong enough to go, I'm not perfect, you know? I think I would argue it's defensiveness to go to say, I don't need therapy, or I don't want therapy, to think you can't benefit from therapy. I mean,
Yeah,
so
absolutely. Well,
yeah.
amen. I'm sitting over here just nodding, nodding, nodding as he's talking. Okay, so we've talked a little bit about resilience. Tell us about how you take care of yourself, your resilient strategies that you find most helpful, and then I think you're going to play us one more song, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, good.
Okay, so and these are all works in progress. Like I said, there's days I don't have control of it. But the process for me is find the things that make you feel like you have control. Because the thing is, I think pain. I think we talk about resilience. Why do we need resilience? Because we're in pain. We have this perceived suffering for some reason. So we need to be resilient to fight that ongoing suffering. The suffering, where does it come from? And that's where what I said earlier. Know yourself. It's going to be different for everybody, but to know where your suffering comes from. My suffering, I'm starting to learn, is coming from this void, this distrust of humanity, this distrust of people, and distrust of love. And so my resilience my tools I've had to shape in a way that gives me those things that I feel like I'm missing. And so if I feel like I've got a void of love or acceptance in my place in the world, if I can sing a glorious day on the planet of love to a crowd and the crowd says, I love what you thought, I feel like I exist. I think a lot of our pain in our lives is we don't feel seen. I don't feel in control. My needs aren't getting met. And if you can have something, if you focus on the things that get those needs. For me, one of my needs is to feel like I'm physically fit. I feel better when I feel physically fit. And so like if I'm feeling down, I know that about myself. Go for a walk, go shoot some hoops, play some tennis. Understanding yourself to that level, so to me it's movement. It's finding those things like music that fulfill me in purpose, and then the last thing that I'd say that therapy's really brought out in me is mental patterns, understanding your mental patterns. If you're hard on yourself, I know that like I am an optimist. I believe in the goodness of life and the goodness of existence and the privilege of existence. But at the same time, like I can be hard on myself, and I'm a perfectionist, and my music's not good enough. And no wonder I don't have a house yet. I'm still living in an apartment or a duplex because my music just isn't quite good enough. Whatever it was, we'll listen to those mental patterns, and that takes delving into because we're good at lying to ourselves. And so for me, it's understanding that my mental patterns can be harsh on myself. Why? And then that forgiveness. So if you can find forgiveness for self, understand that you've done your best with the information that you've got to this point, and you can make better choices from here on out. And if you flail again, you're human. It's that struggle to remember to forgive yourself, because it's hard to forgive yourself. Especially if we've been on an ongoing level of resilience, and we've been in that for the last decade, and all I feel like I've been is resilient, and I'm tired. And then I'm like, but I'm just gonna find that strength and just do this thing. I'm gonna feel good about it, but then it backfires. And now what do you do? And it's that eternal self-forgiveness, presence. Remind yourself of this moment. Zoom out. Look at I love to look at the moon because it's just like, oh, it's a sphere, just like I'm standing on a sphere as well. I forgot for a second. I forgot. And these are all very kind of woo-woo kind of cliche things, but whatever works for you, that's the thing. Understand you. That does work for me. If I can zoom out and have a good time, or connect with friends. I'm an isolationist. That comes from the survivalist mentality of a kid that grew up with PTSD in the house. Survivalist mentality, isolation, because like friends and good times don't mean anything. That's the message I was. So that's dangerous. It's like you're gonna waste money, resources. Like what are you doing that for? And so that void, now I got to actively, even though it's not natural for me, I got to actively hang out with a friend. Got to do these things that I feel unnatural, but they actually, for the animal, for the human that I am, it's more fulfilling. Just know yourself.
Yeah, that's great. All right, what are you going to play us?
Talking about being hard on yourself, this is a song that I wrote for a friend, actually, that is about understanding self. A lot of the times, the version we have of ourselves in our head is much less together than the one that is always there for friends, the one that is creating something, the one that is working hard at the job, whatever it is. Someone's appreciating you, and we don't always notice that. So this is called The You That You Don't Know. If you knew the you that you don't know, you'd love yourself from head to toe. You'd never be too sad or low. If you knew the you that you don't know, if you saw the you that you don't see, you would feel so differently. You'd be as happy as can be if you saw the you that you don't see. You'd say, what a human, what a friend, what a model citizen. You know why the people love you so, if you knew the you that you don't know. If you heard the you that you don't hear, all the doubt would disappear. 'Cause you're so charming and sincere. Yeah, the you that you don't hear. What a human, what a friend, what a model citizen. You know why the people love you so, if you knew the you that you don't know. You may not see it for yourself, it's just everybody else. When the earth is old and cold and gray, and we're out beyond the Milky Way, who shall lead humanity? Well, I'd send the you that you don't see. And they'll say, what a human, what a friend, what a model citizen. You know why the people love you so, if you knew the you that you don't know. Just how the people love you so, oh yeah. If you knew the you that you don't know. If you knew the you that you don't know. If you knew the you that you don't know.
Yay. Oh, that was so touching.
Thank you.
I was thinking of so many people that I want to hear that, so I'm definitely going to share this specifically with them.
Thank you.
Lee, thank you so much for being here today and sharing your music. Please visit leecoulter.com to learn more about his music, and you can commission him to write an original song for you. So he was super resilient during the lockdown and came up with all these ways to continue to perform and to offer his music, but also make a living. So please support your local artists. The holidays are coming up, and there's no supply chain delay on that. So
That's right. That's right.
And no one will ever forget that you had a song written for them.
That's
and
right.
you can also support him on Patreon. Check out other episodes of the Resilience series on Facebook, Watch, Instagram, and YouTube. Follow me at sweavermph to learn more about my upcoming book, The Migraine Relief Plan Cookbook, which is due out next summer and is available for pre-order now. Thanks so much for watching.